deep in the jungles of southern Mexico, big stone heads have stood for thousands of years, quiet proof to a people long gone. These big Olmec sculptures, some weighing over 20 tons, have shocked experts, historians, for a long time. But new AI scans have shown details no human eye could fully see. Hidden shapes, strange marks, and patterns that make us question what we thought we knew about these people. Were these just leaders carved in stone? Or do they hold secrets about the Olmec's origins? Join us in this video as we reveal the details.
The terrifying discovery inside the Olmec heads. Archaeologists in Mexico recently announced a major discovery that has created new interest in ancient Mesoamerican history. They found signs of a very large, old city buried under the ground, and this new finding has once again drawn attention to one of the biggest mysteries connected to early civilizations in the region. This mystery is tied to the famous Olmec colossal heads, giant stone sculptures that have confused experts for many years. The discovery of the underground city did not directly solve the mystery of these heads, but it made researchers look deeper into the history and purpose of these huge stones. The colossal heads are some of the most remarkable works of ancient art ever found. Each one was carved from a single piece of volcanic basalt. Some of them weigh more than 50 tons and stand up to 3 meters tall. These stones were moved from a mountain range called the Sierra de los Tuxtlas, which is more than 90 kilometers away from the main Olmec ceremonial sites. What makes this even more surprising is that the Olmec people did not have wheels, carts, metal tools, or animals strong enough to pull heavy loads. Still, they somehow managed to transport and shape these massive stones with great skill. The faces on the heads are smooth, detailed, and extremely well-shaped, showing expressions that look natural and calm. This level of detail continues to raise questions that experts still cannot fully answer. For many years, researchers could only study the outside of the heads. They examined the surfaces, checked the carving marks, and compared the shapes. But all of this could only tell them so much. Recently, a new stage of research began when specialists started using artificial intelligence tools to scan the colossal heads more deeply. They used high-level methods like structured light scanning, laser mapping, and digital density analysis. These tools allowed them to make complete 3D models of the heads, both outside and inside. This was the first time anyone had been able to look inside the stones without breaking them. Once the AI systems processed the scan results, the findings surprised everyone. The software began flagging unusual shapes and patterns inside the stones that did not match anything known about Olmec carving techniques. Some of the inner patterns showed straight lines and geometric shapes that were too perfect to be natural. The scans also found strange changes in density inside the stone, areas that were lighter or darker than expected. These density changes did not match what normally happens in natural basalt. One head had a long, thin, hollow area running inside it, almost like a channel. Another had a shallow, circular depression hidden underground that had never been seen before. The AI even found extremely fine lines on the surface that were invisible to the human eye. These lines were so straight and evenly spaced that they looked intentional. On one sculpture, the back of the head had a tiny spiral marking carved so lightly that it could not be seen without the scan. More surprises came when the system checked symmetry. One head showed near-perfect symmetry in the eyes and mouth, something very hard to achieve by hand. The scans also found a narrow band of unusual minerals, hematite and magnetite, embedded inside one of the heads. These minerals were not painted on the surface. They were deep inside the stone, suggesting they were placed there during carving. These discoveries suggest that the colossal heads may have a deeper and more complex history than previously believed. they might have been carved in different stages over many years, or they may have had symbolic, ritual, or ceremonial purposes that went far beyond simple decoration. The unexpected internal shapes, hidden markings, and strange mineral bands all point to a much more advanced culture than earlier researchers assumed. Could the ancient Olmec heads hold more than just silent witness? Could they actually interact with the Earth itself through sound and vibration? Stay tuned for more. The acoustic secrets of the Olmec colossal heads. An unexpected sound element was discovered during studies of the Olmec colossal heads in Veracruz. A faint, steady hum of 7.83 hertz, which answers to the Schumann sound, the Earth's natural background vibration, was watched by instruments kept close to one statue. Given the steady sound, it is unlikely that natural noise was the source. Also, tests showed that the heads vibrated slightly when some tones were played close to them. This hints that the builders might have used their understanding of how sound interacts with stone to create the monuments. Another look of the head's characteristics showed a lot of physical features. Digital reconstructions showed traits common to people in Africa, the Mediterranean, and Mesoamerica. Although some experts thought it was a coincidence or a natural variation, these findings raised concerns among researchers about ancient interaction or migration. Micro-inscriptions hidden under the stone surfaces were found via hyperspectral imaging. These tiny markings had patterns related to the Earth's 25,920-year precession cycle, as well as mathematical patterns that looked like pi and phi. These markings' accuracy and depth showed a high level of grasp of time cycles and arithmetic. According to astronomical research, about 1200 BCE, a number of statues were aligned with Orion's belt and a star cluster that was hidden to the naked eye. The heads were also oriented according to solar and lunar cycles, including solstices and equinoxes, and shared a common magnetic direction. This suggested that the heads were deliberately placed with celestial and geomagnetic knowledge in mind. Excavations uncovered a buried chamber beneath one head. Inside was an octagonal room containing a basalt pedestal with small obsidian fragments. After checking, it was found that the tiny grooves in the shards stood for encoded sound patterns. The heads vibrated in unity when these sounds were played at the location, creating harmonics that matched the natural resonance of the Earth. This hinted that the heads might have been made to interact in unity with vibration and sound. Oral legends identifying the heads as watchers in stone who formerly sang with the Earth were mixed by local indigenous elders. They warned against disturbing the sculptures. Researchers added cultural context to the physical findings by noting that these stories fit the acoustic impacts recorded at the site. Later, digital simulations showed that 12 of the heads could connect locations throughout Mexico and Guatemala by forming a network along magnetic ley lines. Long-distance, low-frequency energy increase is possible with this network. "They listen still" was a note attached to the models, hinting that the statues and natural vibrations may continue to interact. A carved tablet mentioning entities that came from the sky and formed mankind was one of the other findings. This was similar to myths from many old tribes around the world. The acoustic characteristics of the Olmec heads and megalithic sites in Egypt, Lebanon, and Ireland were found to be the same. These structures produced harmonics inside some frequency range when digitally modeled, showing a possible worldwide understanding of sound and resonance in old structures. Predictions based on the models indicated that a major resonance event might occur during rare alignments of the sun and moon, similar to those from over 3,000 years ago. Leaked recordings later confirmed rhythmic pulses across Veracruz that matched the predicted network nodes. Excavations of a large circular platform aligned to true north revealed mineral traces identical to those in the heads, suggesting it may have served as a central hub for the system. Independent experiments confirmed that exposing materials to the recorded frequencies produced visible energy patterns and subtle vibrations. Scholars remain divided on the significance of these findings. Some propose they indicate advanced ancient knowledge or a lost civilization, while others attribute them to coincidence or natural resonance effects. A final note from the AI-based analysis concluded, the stones were not built to speak, they were built to remember. Recordings taken after the site closure captured the same 7.83 Hz tone, implying that the colossal heads may still respond to the Earth's resonance today. How did the Olmec civilization manage to carve and transport these massive stone heads, and what might their design and placement reveal about power, ritual, and society? Let's delve deeper. The Olmec colossal heads, portraits of power and ritual. The Olmec civilization, which lived along the Gulf Coast of Mexico from around 1200 BCE to 400 BCE, created some of the most impressive and mysterious artifacts in ancient history. Among these are the colossal stone heads. These sculptures are very large and heavy, and they are thought to represent Olmec rulers because of their unique facial features and the great effort needed to make them. 17 of these heads have been discovered so far. 10 come from San Lorenzo, and 4 come from La Venta, which were two important Olmec cities. Each head was carved from a single giant piece of basalt rock. In some cases, the stones were moved more than 100 kilometers from their source, Cerro Sintepec in the Tuxtla Mountains. The Olmecs likely used large rafts to float the stones along rivers and logs to roll them on land. The heads are enormous. They can be almost 3 meters tall, over 4 meters around, and weigh about 8 tons each. The heads were carved by hand using hard stones. Some evidence shows that they may have originally been painted in bright colors. The fact that only the head was carved is important. In Mesoamerican belief, the head contained the soul, emotions, and life experience of a person. The eyes, mouth, and nose were carved deeply, and some heads have dimples on the cheeks, chin, or lips. Each head has unique features, showing that they may be real portraits of rulers. While some have suggested that African influence shaped the head's features, experts note that similar traits are still found among people living in Tabasco and Veracruz today. Many heads wear protective helmets, which were used in battle and during the ball game. Some helmets also show jaguar paws or talons, which may symbolize power or religious significance. Some heads were made by reshaping older objects. For example, San Lorenzo Colossal Head 7 was originally a throne, and La Venta Altar 5 may have been in the middle of conversion when it was abandoned. These changes could have been done to honor a ruler who had died. The heads were sometimes moved from their original positions. Archaeologists think this was done for rituals or to show political power in different areas. At La Venta, 4 heads were placed around the sacred city center. 3 were at the northern end and 1 was at the southern end, all facing outward like guards. The heads at La Venta are generally wider and shorter than those at San Lorenzo. Many heads were buried before 900 BCE. This may have been done as part of ancestor worship, to show respect for past rulers, or to remove the power of a dead ruler. Some heads were deliberately damaged before burial. After being buried, the heads were forgotten for almost 3,000 years. The first head was rediscovered in 1871 CE, and the last was excavated in 1994 CE. The Olmec colossal heads show how skilled and thoughtful the Olmecs were. They combined artistry, engineering, and cultural meaning in each sculpture. The size, detail, and placement of the heads reveal a society that understood labor, symbolism, and ritual in a very advanced way. They were not just art. They were statements of power, memory, and respect for leaders. In the end, these heads remain a key part of understanding the Olmec civilization. They tell us about leadership, belief, and ritual in one of Mesoamerica's first complex societies. Each head is a lasting reminder of the skill and culture of a people who lived thousands of years ago. How did the early people of Mesoamerica transform from simple farmers into a civilization capable of creating the remarkable Olmec culture? Let's take a closer look. The origins and legacy of the Olmec civilization. The people known today as the Olmec lived along the Gulf Coast of Mexico, in what is now Veracruz and Tabasco. The name Olmec is not what they called themselves. It comes from a Nahuatl word meaning rubber people, because they produced rubber in this region. Scholars gave them this name to identify the culture that existed there. The Olmecs were very important in shaping Mesoamerican civilization. They influenced later groups such as the Maya, Zapotec, Toltec, and Aztec. Agriculture was the basis of Olmec life. Before their rise, people in Mesoamerica had only recently started living in permanent villages. They grew crops like gourds, squash, beans, avocados, and chilies. Most importantly, they grew corn, or maize. Corn was first domesticated in Mexico between 7,000 and 6,500 BCE. From a small grass called teotes, it became a major food crop that changed life in the region. Corn was so important that later Mesoamerican cultures even had maize gods. The Olmecs also produced chocolate, showing their skill and influence. By the second millennium BCE, the Olmec civilization was growing quickly. They built large cities with planned layouts. La Venta, for example, had ceremonial plazas, temple mounds, workshops, and homes for elites. These cities had merchants, artists, priests, and rulers, showing a complex society. The Olmecs built large monuments, pyramids, and platforms that reflected the importance of religion, politics, and community life. Religion and spirituality were central to Olmec culture. Most of what we know about their religion comes from artifacts such as sculptures, ceremonial objects, and symbols. We know comes from their art. Colossal stone heads were carved from basalt and showed rulers with unique features and helmets. Small statues, such as infants with jaguar traits, show that they believed in transformation and spiritual power. These were-jaguars might have stood for shamans going into rare states to interact with the paranormal and have an impact on the world. Early gods that would finally arise in Mesoamerican religion are shown in a lot of sculptures. For example, Totec, the fire god, the god of death, and the feathered serpent, later called Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan, are all shown by carvings on the Laulima figure. Another custom was bloodletting, in which priests or kings sacrificed their blood to communicate with ancestors and uphold spiritual order. Also, the Olmecs achieved serious success in calendars and writing. They had a technique for writing down dates and used the long count calendar. Symbols, looking like Mayan and Isthmian scripts, can be seen in monumental inscriptions on stelae and other carved items. The Olmecs no doubt added to the growth of literacy in Mesoamerica, even though experts disagree on the exact origins of writing. A lot of future civilizations were impacted by their calendar, which served as a guide for rituals and daily life. Another Olmec addition was the Mesoamerican ball game. Rubber balls from 1500 BCE were found at El Manati, although formal ball courts have not been identified at Olmec sites. This shows that the Olmecs played the game, which later grew into an important cultural and religious practice throughout Mesoamerica. The game stood for the fight between good and evil, or life and death, and sometimes the losing players were sacrificed. The Olmecs built Mesoamerican civilization through agriculture, urban planning, art, religious rituals, writing, calendars, literacy, and games. Generations of people were impacted by their ideas, which also added to the growth of later cultures. Even thousands of years later, the Olmecs remain a key part of understanding the history of the Americas. If the Olmecs shaped the art, religion, and society of later Mesoamerican civilizations, what hidden mysteries do their symbols, genetics, and cultural innovations reveal about their origins and lasting influence? Let's learn more. The Olmecs: plumed serpent, genetic mysteries, and cultural influence. The Olmecs were one of the first advanced civilizations in Central America. They lived long before the Aztecs and the Maya. One of their most famous symbols is the plumed or feathered serpent. The earliest known image of the serpent comes from La Venta, an Olmec site. In the carving, a human figure holds a strange bag in their hand. Similar images of people holding such bags appear in ancient Sumer and at Göbekli Tepe, suggesting a shared idea or symbol of bringing knowledge or civilization. Later Mesoamerican cultures, like the Maya and Aztecs, continued the tradition of the feathered serpent, where it became a god called Quetzalcoatl, linked with peace and culture. The Olmecs also show a mystery in their genetics. The stone heads they made have thick lips and broad noses, which look different from typical Native American features. Similar skulls have been found in parts of Brazil with Polynesian or African-like traits. Early DNA tests showed these people were still related to modern Native Americans, but recent studies have found an Australasian genetic signal. This signal is connected to populations in Australia, Papua New Guinea, and Melanesia. These findings suggest that early settlement in the Americas may have been more complex than previously thought. The unusual features of the Olmecs remain part of a larger question about how people first came to the Americas. The Olmecs also had a strong cultural and technological influence. They built large structures and created advanced art, which later civilizations copied and improved. They developed early calendars, which the Maya later adapted. Their art, religious symbols, and giant stone heads influenced future Mesoamerican societies. The Olmecs also showed advanced organization in farming, construction, and social hierarchy, which allowed their civilization to grow and thrive. The Olmecs also created intricate artifacts, including jade figurines and ceremonial objects, which hint at a highly skilled artisan class. Their artistic motifs and symbols, such as the plumed serpent, were carried forward by later Mesoamerican cultures. These observations provide small but important clues into their complex society and enduring cultural legacy. In summary, the Olmecs were a very advanced and influential civilization. Their plumed serpent symbol, genetic mysteries, and cultural achievements show that they laid the foundation for later civilizations in Mesoamerica. Even today, they continue to be studied and admired for their unique contributions to history and culture. What do you think about the mystery of the Olmec heads? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for exploring the world of the Olmecs with us. We hope you found their mysterious heads and ancient innovations fascinating. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to uncover more secrets from Mesoamerica's past. See you there.